Hello, my friend. How are you? My Facebook friends. I'm just back to New York City. I went back to China for almost 1 month. Last month, January 20th, I went back to China in almost like an urgency situation because my dad was sick and he's in hospital until today. He's still in hospital. So very, very tough time. And I spent almost like 30 days there, a whole trip, and accompanied my dad through his heart surgery. Is a big surgery, and opened his chest on the top part and also like replaced some parts like a valve part of the heart. And my dad is already 77 years old. This quite soon to be 78. So not too old, but also but at the same time, such kind of big surgery, especially like open the chest, right, and surgery on heart, is very, very challenging for him. Before I left, his situation is like ups and down, and we almost saw that he's like we helped him through after surgery, through the ICU, then the regular ICU, then regular hospital room, and totally over 20 days. But by the time when I need to leave, he was sent back to ICU. And when I returned to New York City, I just learned that my dad had high fever, and because of infection in the blood. So that's the most serious situation, because in this kind of like a blood infection, many patients died. There's almost like over 30 to 60% of death. So it's very dangerous. We're still like my sister went there, and my daddy's like a later wife is with him. Very, very tough. And even though I'm now back, but every day, almost like all the day, my heart, my mind has been with my dad situation, and every day I've been doing the research, doing the inquiring and communication, and caring about his situation and praying for him. And it's quite frustrated. Why? Is initially very frustrated. It's just like when I went there, right? I did all my best, and almost like past the last 20 days after surgery, I almost see that my dad is recovering every day. We've been helping him recover through the surgery, and he had been improving every day, little by little. Initially, like he had all this kind of mess, right? And he's very like strengthness, and he's like barely can like even like sit up, right? But step by step, we helped him to sit up and to even get down the bed and walk. Initially, it's just like standing there, and then day by day, helping him to walk a few steps, and then longer distance, and then dozens of meters, and with people's helping, right, with assistants helping. It's almost like I had been saying, hope that in just a few short days he could recover and leave the hospital, because he had been staying there by the time when I left, he had been there for over 40 days for this heart surgery, because he had like a heart failure before the surgery. So they spent almost like 15 days there, and to recover and get prepared for the surgery, to qualify for all this kind of criteria, his body situation, right? And then after surgery, another over 20 days. So almost just a few days left for him to leave that. It's just like a jail for him. You cannot imagine how difficult it is. He's been almost all the time, right, lying down on the bed, getting all this kind of breath supplies, the oxygen supplies, and all this kind of injections and all this kind of medicines. Super difficult for my dad, because he's like me, right? We all have like a spirit of freedom. Who doesn't want freedom, right? And especially he's a person with a strong opinion, strong mind, and he really cherishes his freedom and independence very much. He has been very super independent person, a very caring person as well. And now lying down on the bed in the hospital, doing nothing and being treated almost like it's not like a human. Sometimes in China, I cannot imagine, not like in the US. And sometimes they treat patients not with that much kind of a patience, or like that kind of for right, you would how to say that, appreciation of life, right? That kind of patience and appreciation you would wish for. So he did not get that enough, and has been lying down on the bed in the hospital, including the ICUs, different levels of ICUs and hospital bed, for over 40 days. You cannot imagine how difficult that is. And he's been struggling. He's even struggling with all this kind of breathing and oxygen supplies. So super difficult. But just like within, we were expecting just within 4 or 5 days he could leave that jail, leave that hospital, and leave everything behind and could enjoy his life again. But suddenly his situation get worse, and he got heart failure again. Some symptoms of like a heart failure, and he got chest pain, and then the doctors found his this wound, right? This surgery wound has some infection. So then they had to send him back to the regular ICU, not the most serious one. So during that time, I've already bought my tickets because I saw my dad is in a stable situation, so I could leave. I almost stayed there for 30 days, and my kids were like at home, right, waiting for me. So I need to get back. But right after I left, I learned that my daddy got high fever and also infection inside his circulation, inside blood, and also lung as well. So that's very, very serious, and everything is getting backward. And now he's sent back to the regular ICU, and then even getting worse because after a few days they could not control the fever and the infection in the blood, and then they sent him back to the severe ICU. So everything, and now whatever I helped him to, let's say, to get free from, like to avoid that kind of suffering from, those things like, let's say, the things they use to filter the blood, to reduce the sodium, to reduce some other, like balance some other kind of mineral in the blood filtering, and other instrument to put in through the throat and into the lung to get the mucus and get things out. That kind of is another kind of a torture, and another thing very serious, more antibiotics, all this kind of medicine, a lot of medicines, and he's getting worse, right? We had been providing food and he can feed himself already, and now everything getting back to the almost like worse than before. He had been lying on the bed. They did not allow him to eat anymore, and they put the tubes into his nose, through into his through his stomach, and into all these injections it's just like into his digestion system, to put all this kind of nutrition inside of it, instead of letting him eat or chew by himself or swallow by himself, to avoid such kind of a risk of like choking or get things into his lung. So everything is just getting back to even worse than original. So that's the most frustrating situation. Can you imagine how frustrated I was? And especially after I left my dad and I returned home, expect that he will be stable, and at least he could like recover soon, right? So, and now it's totally like a torture to me. It's like just like you almost, it's just like you were climbing the mountain, almost to get too close to the top, and suddenly you fell down and slided or fell down all the way to the bottom of the mountain, of the tall mountain. How would you feel? So initially I was quite like inside of me, I was angry. I was saying, because I know that hospital is not as good as we wish, right? So that hospital, I was asking my sister and my daddy's wife to ask those doctors why he got infected, why he's been making all this kind of progress, and suddenly he's getting back to all this kind of worst situation, and why they did not let him to sit up and eat, and why did not they why are they using all this kind of a blood filtering and just reduce some kind of like a sodium, everything. Like I feel like so stupid, and I feel like irritated. So, and I was suffering for my dad and as well. And so every day I could not sleep well these days, and I could not barely could work because it's constantly in my mind, in my heart. And I was imagining how my dad is suffering, and I was suffering as well. So for quite a few days after I returned, and I was wondering when should I get back there. Unfortunately, I have a sister in China, so she's now with my dad. But I've always feel like, oh, they could not ask enough questions. They are not like intelligent or like diligent, do the due diligence like me, right? I always ask questions. I always do research. I always like discuss with the with the hospital, with the doctors, with the nurses, and to understand more details, to understand more like reasons, and also provide my feedback, provide my independent opinions, instead of just blind following the doctors, right? So especially need to be cautious, because many hospitals, especially like ICUs and other places, they could be over treating clients, including biotics and antibiotics, including the antibiotics could be overused, that can also cause infection as well. So all this kind of thing, right, give me a lot of a burden, mind, heart burden for the past few days. And so last night I was keep reading the book. By the way, the letters from Rockefeller to his sons, 38. I'm always almost finishing it. I know I'm behind my reading schedule, because when I get back to China, I was not really with that kind of mind to read so much, right? But yesterday, I'm glad I read this part, the letters 32, avoid blaming and give excuses. Yeah, I know I've not been giving any excuses. I've been giving all myself out to help my dad. But now this situation, right, is getting worse. And now it seems like all we can do is just praying to God. But at the same time, I just read this book. I feel like very inspired. I'm really appreciated that Mr. Rockefeller, J.D. Rockefeller, told his son it's like blaming is the number one enemy in destroying a leadership. Avoid blaming, and he said, let me see. I had some writing it. So what are my responsibility, especially now, right? I already left China. What's my responsibility? I could not do things directly. And here it reminded that only by focusing myself can I reclaim the crown that I inadvertently gave up. I just felt like that I was so intended to helping my dad, and in that situation, in that suffering and let's say powerless situation. So I was not focusing on myself at all. I barely have any time to take good care of myself, or to relieve, or to relax, and to have fun or whatever. So it's just like a totally not kind of miserable situation. I was suffering, and I was totally not focused on myself, because I gave up my crown. I had this confidence crown on myself before that. I feel like whatever things I've been going through, I could go through. But this time I just found it so difficult, because it's on my dad, and I feel like it's so out of my control, so pitiful and so frustrated, and I don't know what to do now, because now I'm back to US, and my dad is still suffering on the patient bed in ICU in the hospital of China, which I do not feel like it's the best place for him to stay, right? So I totally it's just like I gave away my crown and gave away my power to that situation. And so that's why both my dad and now both was a miracle. And here he's also saying that he's asking what are my responsibilities here. My responsibility is not just my dad's health, but also including my own health. I know I had like some almost like let's say weakening of my immune system and the sickness when I was in China, because I was taking like putting all my energy efforts to try to help my dad, and I did not take good care of like enough good care of myself, so I had quite some like suffering of my situation as well. So now, so what are my responsibility? In addition to my responsibility as a daughter to my dad, also I have the number one actual responsibilities to myself. If I'm suffering, if I'm like I'm getting sick, I'm not doing anybody's goodness, right? Because I could become like how to say bitter. When the situation is getting worse, I could not keep myself calm. I could keep blaming the hospitals or the doctors, and even though I know that maybe they're not the excellent choices now in China, right? But by blaming them, I'm not making the situation any better. So here also, I said the stronger you are, the smaller the influence of others will be. That's true, because now because I forgot my strength and forgot to keep myself in one place and let the influence of the situation, not just others. I know the doctors and the nurses, they're being trying to help, even though they did not do the best way, right? And sometimes some situations they may make it even worse. But I know that they did not do that on purpose. They try to help, but they have their limitations, right? Capabilities, experiences, and resources, environment, everything. They have their limitations. But it's just I feel like I make myself, because I could not fully in the best way to control and manage my mindset and my emotions, and I gave up my strength, right? So here, like because I was not strong enough compared to many other people, I would say I'm strong, but not as strong as I should be, and so I let the situation or others influence me in a negative way. So now I understand that the stronger I am, the less influence others or the situation will have on me. And also, am I saying the obstacle as opportunity? This one's still a little bit challenging for me to think, like this kind of obstacle as opportunity, right? I hope my dad, gosh, not just hope, I wish, I pray and pray and pray every day that my dad will survive this toughest challenge, this health challenge and situation, adversity is totally the biggest adversity of his whole life, and for us as well, as his daughter. So this obstacle as an opportunity, I know it's in God's way. Like I think the human's end is the beginning of God, right? So for us, it's like an end, almost like we were desperate. We were thinking that the dad is dying. It looks like everything, like the situation and the facts, looks like he's dying there, lying on this ICU bed, and they are not really helping him much, and he's suffering physically and mind, mentally and emotionally as well. He's suffering there, but he could not talk, he could not speak. He can barely like open his mouth to speak. They put all this kind of equipment on him, and his throat get maybe some problem, and he could not speak for quite many days. He could use very weak like words or like figure sign, like sign language to let us know what he wants. So the obstacle as an opportunity. I know I can only put this in God's hands, and I don't know what this kind of opportunity is, but it's in his definition, in his way. But at least to me, this is not the end. Okay, our end is God's beginning. So I'm holding that faith. Every day rebuild my faith in God, and in the life he created, and in the situation he let it be. And even though Mr. Rockefeller was talking about leadership, but here it applied very well in my situation as well. And he said there's no blame or excuses at his company, right? And because of Andrew Carnegie, let me see, yeah, the still, yeah, Mr. Andrew Carnegie was consulting him how he's letting people to do, even the ordinary people, to do excellent job, right, and to take first responsibility. He's saying that Mr. Rockefeller said there's no blame or excuses. This is a philosophy he insisted on. So here I was also thinking a similar situation. I know those doctors and nurses are not the best. Even in China, are not the best. I know they have their limitations in their skills and experiences and in their resources as well. But I should still not have the blame or excuses, because that's not really helping anybody. And they said the results will make us trust each other. So the trust, even though they are limited, we still need to trust that they genuinely want to help the patients to recover. Instead of sometimes we think, oh, they want to make more money, or sometimes we think, oh, they try to keep you stay longer there, right? Or maybe whatever. It's just all this kind of over-treat you, like on purpose. I know some situations they do have that in a health industry, right? Medical industry. We do have those situations, but in this situation, I have to trust. Build up this trust instead of keep blaming, because it's really making the situation not better. And Mr. Rockefeller mentioned about not just the trust but listening. Yeah, I ask many questions. That's good for due diligence, but at the same time also listen more instead of keep challenging, keep blaming, or keep complaining, like that kind of attitude. So he also said the listener is the one who has the power, not the declarant. So listener is the one who has the power, who has the patience, who has the attention, who has the control, self-control, right? Has the power. And also said listening attentively is a great attitude. So give 1% of your attention to other person, including like so now, for example, my sister's there, my dad's wife is there, and how I could give them because they are on site. I know how difficult it is. It's very, very challenging, and also mind and emotion draining when you every day like visit the patient and he's not awake and he's suffering, he's awake and he's like all this kind of situation could make the caregiver or the visitors, the relatives, very heavy mind, very heavy emotion as well, could make you very feel sick as well. So how could I give them 100% support with no blame, with no excuses? So how could I do better? So I was been thinking that I could, yes, I do research, I can share with them, but do not judge, do not blame, do not keep challenging, do not bring extra burden onto their mind and their emotions, right? So how could every one of us take a responsibility? We'll ultimately be responsible for our own choices. I was thinking that including for my dad as well. Initially, he did not listen to me and went to the best local hospital because he was worried about it's too crowded, he may never get his bed or in an emergency situation. So he chose another one, not as good as that one, but it's like maybe not so crowded and have more opportunities for him to get his the hospital bed or get in the hospital, right? So he was making that choice. It was not a mistake, I would say. He did the best choice in his own situation. Even though I would have made total different choices from his, but based on his experience, based on his knowledge, his understanding, his life experience, right? He did not expect it to be so severe of his situation, so he chose a less excellent hospital one, and that indirectly caused all this kind of foreign sufferings, foreign delays, foreign treatment is not so ideal. But it's still like as I read here, it's just that we will ultimately be responsible for our own choices. My dad is paying for this price for his own choices, so I could not change it anymore. I could not change. We will. If my dad could survive this medical situation, I believe that he will learn his lesson as well. So all I can do now is there's no blame, no excuses from my side how I could do the best to support. Do the research, share the knowledge, pray for them, encourage them, and put more trust in them. So how about you? I was wondering, what is your recent or like your life's most difficult, challenging situation? How could you do better? How could you take full responsibility for yourself, at least, right, for yourself, and do not be influenced negatively by other people or by the situation? Reclaim your crown, and regain your strength. I just feel like this is totally, even though physically I'm okay now, but this is totally like a recovering stage for me as well, including my mind, including my emotion, like including my strength, my energy, my mindset, everything, and my faith. I'm recovering from it because this is just like so dramatic. So I'm still praying for, I hope it's not like a tragic, right? But it's a praying that God, I'm praying, putting all this faith in you. This situation, I put this situation totally in God's hand, and I'm doing my 100% responsibility. It's just like be fully myself, take full responsibility, no blame, no complaint, do whatever I could to support, to trust, to make the situation more positive than more negative, right? It's already been negative. Looks like everything's like showing negative. But how I could make the situation more positive, make everyone included, including my sister, including my daddy's wife, including my dad, including doctors, nurses, everyone involved into it to be more supported, more positively listened to, and trusted and supported, and we do full cooperation with them to fight for my dad, for his life, for recovery. I know still now everything is uncertain. It's like now we are in this process, in this situation. It's unclear, but I put this faith, and I'm glad that yesterday I read this article, and but also because my reflections through my flight back, I had been reflect on my faith and the relationship. Yes, I was been thinking that the most important thing of our life is not even just our health or our job, our family, our passion, our success, right? All these things are important, but the most important thing I've been thinking about my faith is about the relationship between me and my God. The relationship is the most important thing. Because when I was imagining that if I were in my daddy's situation, majority time, dozens of days, lying on the bed, the hospital ICU's bed is just like a death's bed, right? That's definitely that kind of time, deathbed time. What could I think? What could I do? You barely can do anything. You cannot do. Sometimes they tie your arms by the side of the bed, so you will not grab all this kind of like oxygen supply or injection things. So you barely own anything of your body. So like at that time, physically, your body does not belong to you anymore. Almost like it's all in the medical hospital systems survival, right? They're supplying to survive you. So the only thing you have is what you can think, what you can feel. The only thing you have, the most important thing, I was thinking that when everything is gone, the only thing left is still my relationship with my God, with myself. How I could still, in that most difficult time, I can barely do anything, but you still have a lot of time every day, right? Every day. Because other people are treating your physical body. You have only your mind and emotion with you. And what do? Your faith, right? And some people may do not believe in your spirituality, but that's the most important thing. That will be left with us. And during that time, the only one you could trust and you could talk with is that power beyond you. The God. I call my God. You could have your own God's definition, and I wish that you own your spirituality, you have your faith, and you have your God, no matter how you define it. And when that time, the most difficult time, before death, that's our time. All left is with, like every day, is with God. So I think that even though now I'm not in the deathbed, right? I'm still like could have the freedom. I could still work. I could still like stay with my family. But the number one thing is still my relationship with my God, my faith. That's the most important thing. No matter like your kids will grow up, they will leave, right? Even your husband, your wife, they could leave you, no matter for what kind of reason. But because eventually, everybody will be left by yourself and your God. That's the only relationship eventually would matter. And that's how powerful that relationship is, will decide how your life will have a fulfilling ending. So I've been praying for my God and for my dad, that God will be with him, even though my dad does not believe in God yet. And majority of people in China, they do not believe in God at all. They do not have spirituality. They only believe in philosophy and knowledge. So that I pray my God, he will be with my dad, and he will show him that strength, that peace. And when he was staying that much time, only with his mind and emotions, God will console him. God will bring that peace, love, and support, that full support to him. That's the most important thing. So I know that's what I would carry till the very last breath of my life. And I wish you have that as well, so that you will know who you are. You will know that you are not alone, even though you physically may be alone by yourself, or even in the hospital you feel like all the other people would be. Initially my dad thought that they are all like enemies, they're trying to kill him, and he got into like his mind sometimes get lost during that ICU time. Sometimes they give him that kind of medicine, right, could cause you to get some like illusions. I know no matter how strong you are, in that kind of situation, you could still have panic, right? You thought that, oh, that's my last time, right, of my life. But I am praying for my dad as well, and for you as well, everyone, no matter where you are. Cherish that kind of relationship, and I wish that you will build up, like from now on, when you hear this message, you get this chance, get this aha moment, get this wisdom to build up this relationship with your God. That bring you faith, that bring you peace, bring you love, bring you hope, bring you the strength. And so that you could go through anything. And every day you will feel that fulfilling kind of a feeling, and that kind of peace and joy in your life, that you are not alone. You are fully supported, loved, and helped and protected, guided by your God. So that's today's message. No blaming, okay? That's why I'm asking the question is, are you still blaming life? Because I know there are so many situations, right? Since we grew up, like we could have so many failures. We could have meet so many unfair things. And also like my dad's situation, we could meet such kind of a weakness time, and physically or sometimes maybe mentally or emotionally, right? And stressful, and we feel like things are out of our control, and we feel like we are alone, and we feel like we are mistreated. And how during that time we could still not blame life at all, and we can still hold that faith, hold that belief that we are God's child and He is with us no matter what. Even though when we are just by ourselves in the most challenging and difficult time, God never leaves us. So I hope today's message brings you some inspiration, and feel free to share what's your biggest challenges and how you could grow this kind of faith. And do not blame life anymore, and instead reclaim your strengths, reclaim your crown, and reclaim your faith that will stay with you till the very end of our breath. Okay, thank you so much. And also, I would appreciate your prayer for my daddy's recovery. I know it's a very, very tough situation, so I do need your support as well, and your energy, any kind of a positive energy and prayer with love, with support. I would really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I hope all of you will have a great, great time with God, with your faith, and with yourself as well. Remember, that's your most important relationship and the most important thing. You could say a life quest of your life, to keep that relationship and keep growing that relationship every day. All right, everyone, take good care. Be the best. Okay, bye-bye.